I didn't expect to make another video so soon, but why not? So, as a refresher course, I'm not actually going to go through the whole cheat sheet. What I'm more interested in is application. I feel like the rhythms themselves are arbitrary. I just picked them. And I picked them because I wasn't used to dealing with certain amounts of notes in certain orders. And basically it came down to, I wanted to increase my left hand independence against a rod cymbal pattern. And it kind of just took on a life of its own from there. Well, let me just get into it. So here is 4 ways to use the 11 note pattern in the cheat sheet. So first, for all of you that don't know it, the 11 note pattern that I'm talking about is 2 groups of 4 and a group of 3. The groups of 4 are divided by a space. So space, 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 or something like that. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways. First, I'm going to show you the original way that I practiced it in a samba context. This is just to get the left hand loose. That's it. I wanted to have more varied and more over the bar line phrasing with my left hand while playing samba bossa nova patterns. So here's that example. Then I discovered that I could take that same pattern and play it against a jazz ride in triplets. So what I did was I filled in those notes with my kick drum, so there was no space. You can call this one 2.1 or whatever. So I learned that I didn't have to fill that space in. I could replace the last note of each set with the kick drum instead. And now I guess 2.2. Check this one out. So now that I've replaced the kick drum, let me fill in that space again, but with a hi-hat. This form sort of reminds me of the Alan Dawson stuff, way 8, where you're filling in the triplets with the kick and the hi-hat. I love this one. You can do this in a bunch of different subdivisions. So here's that same thing in 16th notes. Here's that same thing in quintuplets. Speaking of quintuplets, here is a linear combination. Now all of my notes are going to be single strokes, and I'm going to fill in the space with the kick, but I'm going to be sure to play the quarter notes with my hi-hat. So here is that with a quintuplet groove. If you're having issues feeling where the backbeat is in quintuplets, learning how that 11 note resolves in quintuplets can help you gain that foundation. So here, I'm going to be playing that same 11 cycle, but I'm going to alternate kick and snare on quarter notes. Here is a gospel-inspired lick that I did, and this is going to be in 16th notes. So this has some weird crossover stuff. I used to not really do the crossover thing, but it's become necessary now that I'm playing a three-piece to kind of be a little bit more mobile with the way that I can move around the kit. And so I see it more as utilitarian when you're playing smaller kits versus when you have a bunch of toms and you have different motions that you can use. So here's that movement. I tried to make this one quick and easy. I know it's very just like to the point, but I wanted to make sure that the instruction side was tight with this stuff. I know that most of you guys reach out to me, talk about the cheat sheet and how I came about it and what I do with it. And these are only just a few ways that I really apply the thing. I spend a lot of time figuring out how I can apply these rhythms specifically, because I feel like Once you limit yourself to a certain vocabulary, you start to maximize its potential. A bunch of different licks, a bunch of different patterns isn't the way to go. You need to own and maximize your vocabulary and be able to play and express yourself with that vocabulary in as many different settings, in as many different styles of music as you can. Now, I'm not saying to not learn different vocabulary. There are certain keys to styles of music, genre-specific things. Latin music has its own vocabulary. Jazz has its own vocabulary, and that's all historical. Figuring out who you are and your own things, you don't want to say, oh, I can only play this type of thing when I'm playing jazz. You know, I can only play this rudiment when I'm playing rock. I can only play this fill when I'm in a certain time signature. You want to be as flexible as humanly possible, and that's all this is about. Thank you very much. And I will see you soon, hopefully next week.